All right, we're live.
Well, interestingly enough, another plane crash now here in Pennsylvania, very close to where I live, actually, probably just about an hour. And looks like it crashed what near a residential building, like a rental, not rental, apartment building. Is that where it crashed?
I think so. Yeah, it was saying like it was a senior, somewhere in a seniors living,
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah. Well, I mean, I lost count. I don't know how many plane crashes there's been now in the past few months, but this is clearly part of an agenda. I think there's a lot of things that tie into it. Of course, we've already talked about in past videos with AI and how they want to make a world where AI is flying planes, buses, not only just commercial stuff, but for personal reasons, they want the like electric cars driving, and this is all about control, right? Because if it's electrically operated, if it's AI operated, that means it can be controlled by a third party, and that's part of the agenda. They want to make you afraid to fly now, so people don't travel, you don't go places, and of course, this is going to have to do also with a digital ID that comes in for you to travel in the first place. Um, but it's interesting, man, how this keeps happening.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed, these events, these crazy events happen as soon as the Trump administration came in. Um, I do find it kind of weird how all these crazy events happening in America. You see wildfires happening in the winter. Like, when do you ever hear about a wildfire in the winter? Like, it just doesn't make sense, and it's not like it's just happening in the same places in America, like California. It happened in South Carolina recently. We had one in North Jersey over, I think, a couple months back.
Yeah,
Um, and it's just like it's weird. It's like what is all this like random things happening? And I don't think they're random. I think they're contrived, propaganda. Um, with the plane crashes, I believe in numerology, I believe the word plane crash, that phrase equates to 97, and 97 is the 25th prime number. So there's a reason why we're seeing a lot of plane incidents happening in the year 2025, if I'm not
yeah,
mistaken.
interesting.
Um, and like, these are things that like most people, they wouldn't even be thinking about that stuff. But this is the way the cabal works. They do these rituals, and it's like they're scaring people to not even get on the plane. So it's some wild stuff happening out here. And at the end of the day, understanding why these things are happening is crucial, because we have to come to a realization that there is an agenda to not only take our liberties and freedom, but to just scare people into obeying. And like, for example, like right there, this plane crash. How many people are actually going to get on a plane this year? You know, like most people are like, you know what? All these plane incidents, I'm just going to get on the train, or I'm going to drive, or a bus. Like, it's like they're already trying to like kill our freedom. Like, it's just crazy, man. And honestly, traveling by plane, they said, is the safest way to travel. So if this is what's happening, people are going to be afraid to leave their houses.
Yeah,
People are going to be afraid to leave to go on vacation. So it's like it's keeping us in this like this slavery plantation like mindset where, oh, I don't want to go outside. There's germs. There's people shooting each other and killing each other, and there's planes falling out the sky. Like, it is like complete like brainwashing and manipulation at the highest level. So yeah,
and
yeah.
I like that you brought up the fact to stay stagnant, immobile, stay
Mhm.
in your home because ever since COVID, we've seen a change in the way we socialize. We've obviously talked about this a lot, and I talk about this a ton in my videos that my social life changed after 2020. And even though I'm someone who's a social person, I like to go out. I do enjoy, of course, my alone time, and I need my alone time so I could take in information and all that stuff and be sane because sometimes people drive me crazy, even though I am a people person.
Mhm.
Um, but it's like even myself, I find that it's harder for me to get myself out as how it was when I was younger. I don't even know how to describe it. It's almost like I've grown accustomed to being inside. That going out is it's almost like a special occasion now. It's like I'm just inside more than I am outside. And obviously, it's the winter time, so things are a little different now. But
Hmm.
we got nice weather coming up, so we're gonna be going out more. But most people aren't going out, especially the younger generation. They're mainly inside. They got technology. They have their smartphones. They can communicate with it. They can communicate through video games, and they could watch Netflix and infinite scrolling, infinite shows, infinite things to watch. Really, so
Yeah.
it's 24/7 entertainment. Even the news, even just scrolling on X, maybe someone who's political and not even just doing like the entertainment. You can really just go down any sort of rabbit hole, whatever it might be, and there's all sorts of distractions. So yeah, really in the end too. We're not connecting as much. We're not forming proper bonds, which is something we talked about a ton in our videos. And yeah, it's real concerning. It really truly is.
Yeah. I don't really know what the solution is for the mass public. What do people do? At this point, your our kids. Well, I don't have kids, but the next generation coming up, these young kids, they're already indoctrinated and programmed to stay inside. They're not. These kids are not going outside. They're not trying to socialize like how we used to when we were younger. They're all about staying inside. They're all about the tablets and the video games and the screens. Their minds are already warped, to the point where it might be too late
Yeah,
uh, for
unfortunately.
some. you know, but I do think that we still have control over our destiny and where the future goes. Um, the biggest thing is educating, getting this message out to people, allowing your kids to hear the things that we are talking about on this stream, looking out for the agendas that are happening right in front of our faces. Like Elon Musk, this guy is like all running all through the government. Like he's like actually like the president, nobody elected Elon Musk.
Yeah,
And honestly, at the end of the day, Trump is a controlled opposition. Trump is literally creating fascism within our country, and Elon Musk is the person that he's bringing in with him to do it. And then you have just Jeff Bezos and you have Zuckerberg and the rest of the scumbag billionaires, right? These guys are America is a business. I tell people all the time, America is a business, and they are profiting off the cattle, the sheep, the ones who don't know what's going on. They profit off of us. Even just marriage alone, when you get married, marriage is a business.
yeah.
You have to sign papers, and now everything you own goes to the other person that you just married. So it's like it's really just a crazy time that we're living in, and honestly, we have to come to that point of realization that times are scary. It is definitely a scary time to be alive right now. And
Except
if
my
you
screen time.
oh, your screen,
Yeah,
all right, 1 second. Yeah, it's a scary time to be alive at this point because I for one, I have faith that things will pull through, and we'll be all right. But I just look at the world and I'm like, man, the future is within the next generations, and they are lost. I'm not seeing the type of growth that I want to see in the next generation. At least our generation, some of us are lost, but I think a lot of us are intelligent and we understand what's going on, and we're hip to the agendas. I think a lot of us, young people, we know about the agendas, that's going on. And when I mean like our generation, I'm talking like from 25 to like 45. Like that
yeah,
age range of people. Like most of us know that there's some messed up things happening, but what are we going to do about it? We're still the majority here in America. As far as from corporations to the citizens, we still have control. We still have the power. Without our consumption of these products and the screens and the media, these corporations would fail. They would die. So it's like all we have to do is just break the brainwashing, the mind control. Once we break that, oh, it's over. It's game over. You know what I mean? And all the billionaires, they're gonna have to suffer. And like I don't know if you know who Bill Burr is, but he had a controversial opinion on his podcast maybe like a couple weeks ago. He basically said like every billionaire needs to be burned alive, like at the stake. And like honestly, like a lot of people are, like agreed with him. They're like, yeah, these billionaires are destroying our country, and they don't care. They don't care whatsoever, because they know that we're nothing just but a number to them. The average person, every day, 9 to 5, hardworking, tax-paying person, we're nothing but a number. And as long as they meet their quotas, as long as they get their bonuses and their trips to wherever the hell they're going, they can give a damn how we live. They can give a damn if the land is poisoned or not. It makes no sense because these people and their families are going to have to live on earth, for years to come. So like they're destroying the planet. It's like, all right, what's your end goal? Is your future bloodline, they're not going to be able to survive just like we if you continue to keep polluting and poisoning the earth. So it's like for me, I kind of think like, is there something more sinister going on? Is there like a sinister force behind all of this, all these agendas? Is there aliens? Are there aliens? I don't know. Is it demons that control from the shadows? I don't know. But it seems as if we're not dealing with humans that have human hearts. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's wild.
yeah, for sure. And something like you said earlier, like you don't see the spark in the next generation, or you don't see much motivation. And my little brother is 21, and like for example, I mean this is like a small thing, but he doesn't really smoke or drink and like go out
Hmm.
like that. And it's just crazy to think that like I already did a lot by the time I was his age,
Yeah,
and he's had girlfriends, but none like that serious really, to where like he brought them home for dinner or anything like that.
yeah.
He didn't really play sports. He never played like any sports teams. He's never really that consistent at the gym.
Hmm.
I mean, I started waking up when I was his age. By the time I was 21, I was able to talk like at least about surface level conspiracies. And
Right.
like I was even back then, even though I was just awakened, it's like the people who I was learning from were even
Yeah,
to this day people I watch, and they're still
yeah.
very credible people.
I have a call coming in, so just continue talking. I'm gonna mute my mic. All right.
Oh, okay, no problem. Um, So when it comes to the next generation, I mean, I think they're just a little lost, as in they don't know who they are. I don't think that they know that there's anything beyond even that themselves. Like I feel like they just look at life as well. You go to school, then after high school you go to either college or trade school, then you get a job, and maybe you go out on the weekend and take some pictures with your friends or this and that, and that's it. And what's going to happen if maybe one day dollar collapses, right? I mean, how can my generation or millennial generation, how can we even afford to buy homes, right? With the outrageous prices going on. And I know because the red team is in the office now, that a lot of people think that things are going to change. Maybe they will. I hope they do. And that things get cheaper because, I mean, it's ridiculous the price of everything. I don't got to explain it. We all could feel it. But what's annoying to me is obviously we all see these things, we all feel these things, but they always think it's political. They don't see the bigger picture, and this is why the young generation, not only just mine, but especially the one behind it, is so lost because we're very disconnected from the truth, right? And that starts with the education system. It even starts with our parents, who might be really good people and mean well, and try really hard, but they themselves might not understand what's really taking place. And that's what's really upsetting, and that's what's might be confusing to especially young people, is that their parents, who they might love and adore and look up to, is they don't understand truth. So when they hear actual truth, when they hear reality, they might think it's conspiracy or they might think it's crazy.
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was just talking about how, one of the two of the biggest reasons of why our generation, especially the one behind us, is so lost, is because one, the education system, so-called education system that we get thrown into when we're five,
The slave system.
right? That, and then just it's our parents. It's not all parents, but even though some of our parents might be good people and mean well, they might just not understand truth and what's really taking place. And
Yeah.
people think it's all politics, right? Like, oh, we just got to get this politician in office. And I understand every generation, every like 10, 20 years, whoever's alive, there's going to be certain struggles that previous ones didn't.
Hmm.
But I feel like especially what like my parents' generation can't seem to understand is the technology aspect of ours, how this is going to have complete control over us.
Right.
Uh, they might not be alive much longer for it. That's the thing. So they might not be so worried about it or see even what the problem is with it.
Right.
Because right, because technology, it's been in our lives now, especially the smartphones, for almost 20 years, so we're all pretty used to it now.
Hmm.
Now we all think, oh well, look, I grew up with it, I'm okay. We all think we turned out okay, right, with indulging in these things, right?
Right. Yeah.
But we don't realize the damage it's done and how deceived we are and how lost we really
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
If people really understood truth or understood what goes on behind the scenes, I mean, people's heads would really spin because literally everything they know is a lie.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, man, it's people ask, what do we do? What do we do? I mean, I could tell you what I think we could do, which is one, to understand this. That's one, and really try to do something in the community. I can't tell you what it is, but I mean, us, me and Shammy, right? Us getting together doing this, it's the least we could do. Because if we're just sitting on this information, not talking about it, not at least trying, even though we don't get views, um, what good are we to this world if we're not at least trying with what we know?
Yeah.
So that's really what the solution is, in my opinion. But what do you think about it?
Yeah, I agree. Like you were saying about our parents' generation, they're not used to the technology, and they really don't understand that. Or for example, when email came out, a lot of people didn't want to get one. A lot of people was like, "Oh, I don't need email. I've had it. I've been able to survive in the world and get a job and do this and that without it." But eventually, after the mid 2000s, most people had to get an email to just register for things, to get contacted, and it just became
Yeah,
something that was like forced on the people. So,
yeah,
like even like my grandparents and my the older generations, they have emails, but they don't look at it, they don't use it. You know what I mean? Like they just have it because they were just forced to get it eventually. So it's like I think the same thing is happening with this other new technology that's coming out. Even like the digital currency, like this stuff is being forced upon us. Cryptocurrency, like crypto is such a scam. It's just like all these crypto scams that you're hearing about. I'm like, this is not a good thing that should be brought into the world. Like, I don't care what people say, what the benefits are. This is not a good thing. The moment we get away from physical transactions is the moment we are basically slaves. We're locked up in slavery, like officially. Once we get away from physical transactions, yeah, the Federal Reserve is basically a form of slavery in itself, but at least if you're selling watermelons on the street, at least you can see the physical dollar come to your hand. You know what I mean? At least you can see and interact with the person who's buying from you.
and
But
if it's cash, the government doesn't know about it.
exactly, to a certain degree, right? They don't know about it. It's still there is still a paper trail. You can't do certain, like if you have a cash business. a lot of illegal people, they have a catch business, and not illegal people, people doing illegal things rather. Uh, let's use like a laundromat for example. If you're selling drugs, you need to use that laundromat to clean the money out. So it's like, there is benefits to having a cash society, and it's just a better way of going about things. It's like I want to be able to see the person that I'm selling to. I don't want to like see you through a screen or anonymous. And then on top of that, let's just say like if there's an event where all the technology gets like knocked out, what, you're gonna lose all your money? You know what I mean? It's like that's crazy to put the whole system within technology. Our whole way of living within a
Yeah. And that's
technology.
the thing that people aren't thinking about, right? That you can be
Yeah.
shut off. Literally, you could be shut off and you're useless in society. But people think, oh, well, that's not going to happen. The government
Right.
wouldn't do that. They think because they're not evil themselves, that they wouldn't do such harm to people, that there's other
Yeah.
people in the world who wouldn't, especially the people in power.
Exactly.
So this is the frustrating part because you see all these evil things going on in the world. People always ask why are things so bad? It's because of these people that are
Hmm.
causing all these things. Every country might have their own struggles from different things, but in the end, we're all struggling. We're all a victim of the same people ultimately,
Yeah. Yeah.
who have minions in every country, every race, whatever it might be, every class, and it's really disheartening to see how people just can't see things for what they are. They can't see the bigger picture, and they see this technology coming in, they see how it's taken over, and they might say, well, you got to adapt, or how can you use it to benefit you, and all these things, right? They're looking at it from like the business point of view,
Yeah.
which I get it, but again, most people think the dollar is going to last forever and all of eternity, or I don't even know. They think it's Bitcoin, like you were just talking about, all these Bitcoin bros. Um, so we'll see what happens with Bitcoin. We'll see what happens. I mean, my investment when it comes to finances, my only investment is precious metals like gold and silver.
Hmm.
I don't have any cryptocurrency or stock market, anything like that. But
Yeah.
gold and silver is tangible, right? Like you were saying.
Right.
It's not something that the government, even if all the banking system collapses, I still have my gold and silver. It's not in a bank; it's in my possession.
Right.
Um, so
Yeah.
we'll see.
That's yeah.
And gold's
That's the
been
real
going up.
value. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say gold is worth like 3 grand now. So it's gone
Really
up a lot since I've invested in it.
nice. Nice. Yeah, and again, like that's something physically that you have in real life, and you can use it if you need it. Like this crypto and digital currency stuff is such nonsense. It's gonna fail. I already know it's gonna fail. It's not something that's gonna be useful to society unless they force it. Unless we literally give up our rights and liberties and we allow this digital currency system to come in. That stuff
Yeah,
is going to be nonsense.
yeah,
Like the real wealth is having skills, having things that you can build and stuff that you can craft. That's real wealth. Having networking and being able to connect with people. That's what really makes you wealthy. And I think having all these material items in our lives has made us really forget about that. We forgot about what it really means to have value in the world. Just because you have a Mercedes Benz and you have all this, material thing, that doesn't mean you have value in the world. You know, if you can't change a light bulb, but you have a Mercedes Benz, you're worthless. You know, and I don't know, man. It's frustrating to me because I still see so many of at least melanated people of my people who my complexion, they're still about the material items. They'll kill each other over material items, and it's sad to see the programming and the brainwashing. Um, the thing that I think will get us out of all this, there's a few ways that this can happen. The way for us to avoid a total cashless society and a total metaverse, whatever the hell they want to do, it's either there's gonna have to be a restart in society, like a reset, a dark age, and everything just resets like a tragic tragedy, or people actually wake up and they fight the system of what's going on. You know, they fight the agendas. They literally put up their arms and they start to fight back. That's the way we're gonna get out of this. Um,
Yeah,
even like when people buy Teslas, I'm like, you guys are crazy. Like, why are you buying a Tesla? Like, first of all, the materials that it takes to make a Tesla is so bad for the economy. I mean, for the planet and nature. Like, it's like destroying people's lives. You know, if you look into how they get the Tesla car, how they make it, the batteries for the parts, even the iPhones and a lot of the metals that they use, it's getting mined from people in Africa, and they're working like pennies to the dollar all day, every day, and they're destroying their villages. You know, like it's like we in America take this stuff for granted because it comes to us, you know, wrapped and it present. You know, it's very nice and neat, but we don't realize what goes into getting these things. You know, people have to die and lose their lives for these things, for these luxuries that we have. So it's like, and on top of that, the point I was making with buying like a Tesla and these electronic cars, who's to say that they can't take control of your car while you're driving? And
yeah,
if you're somebody like a truth seeker and somebody that's exposing them, who's to say that they won't hack into your car and force you to have an accident? You know, and I've heard stories about these things happening. Like, there was an actress, a white woman. She got killed in a car accident, but people were saying how like it was weird because she was in LA and like her car was going like it was like a Mini Cooper or something. Her car was going like ridiculously fast down like a normal like residential street, like way faster than anyone would normally drive. And like it looked like she couldn't stop her car. Like eyewitnesses had said this in the report. It looked like she couldn't stop her car. Like she was going way too fast down a residential street. So who's to say like they didn't hack her car, lock her door, and took control of the speed and made her crash? You know, when you have these electronic cars, the way they build them, there's definitely a chance that they can hack into your car. It's not
yeah.
out the question, you know, especially Teslas. Like that car for sure can be hacked. Um, that's why like I like the older cars, you know, these cars that run off gasoline, but even their interiors are still kind of old fashioned. You know, it's not all these glitz and glamours of screens and technology stuff. Like I don't like new cars like that. You know, it seems like each year, you know, these cars are, you know, kind of moving in that direction. So I don't know if there's really a way around it, but I think that's what could happen too. You know, like and that's scary. You know that they can do that.
Yeah, it's the same way how they could spy on you, through your camera, through your computer, through your phone,
Hmm.
through your security camera, through whatever. These things, the Alexa, the stuff we welcome into our home, a lot of it is spying devices. They could
Right.
spy on you through your television. So that's really, and then people might think, well, why? What's the point? It's all about control. So if you dare talk anything bad against Big Brother, against the government, it's going to get recorded. It's going to get sent to these AI algorithms, and
Hmm.
they'll alert, the local authorities,
Right.
and you'll be fined. You might be arrested. That's the point of this. And I know this sounds crazy. It sounds like a dystopia because it is a dystopia
Yeah.
ultimately.
100%.
We're not far from that. Um, who's to say during another big crisis like COVID, if one occurs soon, that they say, oh, we're going to make it illegal. We're going to sign something that says temporarily. They'll say, oh, temporarily to
Yeah.
battle misinformation. If you question the government, you're going to automatically be thrown in jail for 30 days
Hmm.
or something.
Right.
But anyway, people say why. Well, here's why. Some people have ambitions in life. Some people have a purpose in life, and most people don't. This is the issue. Most people have no purpose in life. They think the purpose of life is to go to their 9 to 5 job and just enjoy life. But
Right.
no, there's people out here who are trying to enslave you. We're trying to take over the world, just like you've seen in the television shows growing up, right?
Hmm.
About, oh, there's this evil genius trying to take over the world. Um, and he does it. He might do it through technology and all this stuff, right? That we've seen, and movies as well, and sci-fi shows, and with aliens, even, right? A
Yeah.
lot of those B-level movies, those movies that might not make it to theaters, but they get shown on Hollywood, like all those doomsday movies, alien stuff. Um, crazy, showing crazy things, but showing you a lot of truth. Where do you think they get these ideas from?
Right.
And they're all similar. You would think because they're artists and whatnot that they would make different stuff, but they don't. They make the same things because it's socially conditioning you to get
Right.
you ready for something.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
the point with what I'm saying is, people are so naive that they think that there's not people out there to get them. They think that there's not people out there that are trying to enslave humanity. And
Right.
the problem is that there's an abundance of research out there that you can spend years and years of your whole life going into to understand the dark side of this world, and who's really
Hmm.
controlling it and how we got here and all that stuff. And it's just really amazing, especially in the information age, because like you were saying earlier, that conspiracies has become a mainstream thing within the past 5 years, right? It's become like this cool thing. Obviously, it's been hijacked, as we've talked about. It's
Yeah.
not, it's not real raw truth, but there is some truth, but it's mixed with lies. But
Yeah.
point being, conspiracies have become mainstream because people are questioning, like, yo, like the news is so ridiculous, politics is so ridiculous. What's going on? Things aren't making sense. Why is
Right.
everything so expensive? If you're just asking basic questions,
Right. Right.
so we got to understand these things. And the even bigger issue then is people don't want to talk about it if they try to understand it because they don't want to get looked at as they're crazy or maybe get called something that they're not.
Hmm.
They don't want to lose their job. They don't want people to stop being friends with them, you know. So they don't want to lose maybe a significant other. A whole bunch of things. You don't want to get looked at weirdly by your neighbors. All
Yeah.
these things. And
Right. Right.
it's tough, but if you can really learn how to communicate these things in an intelligent way for people to understand, I think we can really make some change because I think we're at a time where people are in a state of mind where they can understand things,
Yeah.
uh, simply because of how weird stuff has become, as I was saying,
Right. Right.
with all these plane crashes, for example, right?
Hmm.
Um, what happened?
Sorry, I just wanted to pull up something on here.
Oh yeah, that's fine. I thought something happened on my end here,
No. Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah. With the plane
yeah,
crash.
yeah, man. So yeah. So anyway, you could go ahead because I was pretty much done what I was saying.
Yeah, well, just like what you were just saying, plane crash. So this is what I was talking about earlier. This is a gematria calculator. So any word that you put in here, you can basically find the numerology to it, right? So it just basically calculates.
What
So
website is this?
gematrinator says
Huh.
it right here. So the word plane crash equals 97. And as you can see, P is the 16th letter alphabet, L 12, A is 1, etc., right? 48. And then crash, C is 3, then, whatever, that adds to 49. That all that, both of these together will add to 97. So that's the first cipher. So there's four ciphers, and there's a lot more ciphers here you can look at, but I usually just stick to the four ciphers right here. Um, and just to show you what they look like, this is how they all look like. Oh wait, I can't even. Anyway, what I'm getting at is 97 is the 25th prime. So I believe this is why we're seeing so many plane incidents happening in the year 2025. Now, people will look at this and call this.
97.
Say it again.
You think there's going to be 97 plane crashes in 2025, maybe?
That would be crazy if there was. Um, if there was 97 plane crashes incidents, I mean, I guess we're off to a pretty good start because how many have we already heard about, and how many have we haven't heard about?
At least, yeah, we've heard about at least 30, it seems, on
Yeah,
the mainstream.
yeah, because a lot of them are happening in Asia and different parts of the country. I mean, the world, like Brazil and all different continents are having these plane crashes. So how many are really happening? Um, you know, I wouldn't put it out the question that 97 happened in this year. I hope not, because it's that's pretty messed up. But this is what's going on: is that they're using these numbers to predict propaganda, to put out propaganda, and to predict, not predict, but what's it called? The programming.
Predictive
Predictive.
program.
Yes, predictive programming. That's what I'm trying to get at. Um, have you ever watched a movie, Knowing? Ever seen that movie?
I don't think
Nic-
so.
Nicolas Cage.
I don't think so.
This is a crazy movie. If there was ever a movie I recommend to watch, it's this one right here. And I think you can look it up for free. You can get it on like whatever sites, whatever. But basically, it's a movie. I don't want to spoil it, but it's basically this guy, Nicolas Cage. He's like a math teacher, and his daughter is like a student in her classroom, right? So 50 years before, that same school had like this they had this little project where the kids will write a letter and they'll bury it, and then 50 years later those kids will, dig it up and read the letters that those kids, had wrote. So Nicolas Cage, his daughter in the movie, she gets this one letter, and like the letter just has like a bunch of like numbers on it. Like it's like a page full of numbers. And she's like, "What is this?" And so her dad looks at it, Nicolas Cage, he looks at it and he's like, "What is this?" And keep in mind, he's a math teacher. So he's like looking at this, like trying to break it down, like what is going on here? And so, long story short, he comes to the conclusion that these numbers are predicting what's going to happen in the future, and like it's all different types of like incidents. Like I believe in one of the number sequences, it predicted 9/11 to happen, and it predicted like other things like plane crashes to happen, and like, and it was like exact. It was like the number that he calculated. Like he looked at how the sequence was, and he's like, all right. On this date, a plane crash is going to happen, and in this part of the world, and then he would go to that place, and like he would literally see the plane like crashing, like. So this movie is like crazy how like it's basically what's written in real life is how they're using these numbers to make things happen. It's like they're telling us the script before it happens. And I believe anyone who's like interested in what I'm saying about numerology, this is the movie to look at. Um, and it's a decent movie, and I don't want to give away like the whole thing, but it's worth looking into for sure.
Yeah, this is really interesting. So what? You can just like type in anything.
Oh yeah, yeah, you can type in
Like,
literally any word.
can I type in my name? Will it tell me what my name means in numerology?
If you type in your name, Justin, these are your numerologies right there, right? I'll show you mine real quick. Um, there is a difference when you add caps. So my name has these numbers. I did my full name. It has these numbers here. Um, and if you have a membership, you can look at what other words match these numbers. So there's like a database that you can see what other words has these same numbers. So you can look at all different types of words that you share and whatever. So it's good to like know it, because like then like why you see certain numbers happen in your life. Like I believe there's an organic side to it, but all this is stemming from Kabbalah, and like gematria is a practice of coding numbers in the word, and it comes from Jewish mysticism. So if you ever talk to like any of your Jewish friends or like a rabbi, ask them about gematria, and some of them will know, but some of them won't really know that much about it. But
Well,
the
what
ones,
is it in the Jewish religion? Like, what is it to them?
it's like their way of it's like their old language, and like what it's Kabbalah. It's like it's I it's hard to explain it, but it's basically like the language that they understood like long ago. Like people long ago, like the Catholic Church and the ancient Romans and Jews and all them, they understood that there was something to numbers, and that's the reason why the English language was created. And of course it was created by the Catholic Church, English language, and now English is the most dominant language in the world. You know,
Yeah.
so this practice of coding numbers into words, there it's been around for a long time. As long as we know the alphabet to be around, and other letters in other languages. um, but it's mainly used by the Catholic Church and the Jews. They know all about it.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of people online who teach about it as well. But I think if you're like on the surface level of trying to get what I'm saying, watching this movie knowing would be a great start. Um,
Yeah, because like I understand some numerology and like how it works for the occult, but I
mhm,
want to understand it better. Also, like the signs and symbols, like how pretty much every corporate logo or anything has some sort of occult symbolism.
right,
Like I want to learn more what it means, like on a deeper level instead of just like the basic
right,
stuff. Because it can mean. I used to think it was all bad, right? Like it just was like Satanism, but then someone like Mark Passio, who I listen to a lot,
yeah,
he was like, no, it's not all bad. Like that's like a big like Christian viewpoint that it's just Satanism, it's all bad.
right,
But he's like, no, it can be used for good. Like
yeah,
there's a light aspect and a dark aspect to the occult.
right, and that's what Kabbalah is. With the Jewish mysticism, it's literally evil and light and dark. That's what they believe in their culture.
Right.
Um, so uh, again, there is a organic side to it, which is, I believe, it's like God communicating with us, or the universe communicating with us. So there is an organic side to it, but the people who run the world, they're using it for an evil purpose.
Exactly.
Um, and going back to what you were saying about understanding more about symbols and terminology. uh, I don't know if you know who Jordan Maxwell is, but
Yeah.
uh, Jordan Maxwell talked a lot about that stuff. He talked a lot about currency and the mothership, and how money is related to the female, and he goes really deep into all that stuff. That's probably the first person who really woke me up, was Jordan Maxwell, because when I was a kid, I used to listen to a lot of his clips. My
Yeah,
grandpa.
it does go deep, right? How things like relate to like male and female organs and like
Mhm,
sex, even, right?
right.
Like designs, even. How like Washington D.C., how that's basically like a giant. It's like a satanic. What's it called? Pentagram, right? Isn't that basically what it's drawn out? It's like Masonic symbols and all that.
Yeah, yeah,
If you like the way like Washington D.C. is laid out.
right, right. Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
it goes really deep and it's really interesting.
yeah. It is. It's crazy how all this stuff has been set up around us, and most people are blind to it. And for me, like, I'm just like, I'm in this to expose it. Like, I'm not in it to use it for my own personal gain. I want to expose what's going on in this world, because this is stuff that is detrimental to all of our lives. When we
Yeah.
got people out here who are committing these acts of crime, and they're looked as the saviors. They're looked as the good people, like Trump and Musk, and people who are just complete evil. They're looked at as good people who are trying to save the average person. And it's sad, the brainwashing, to see that. And the real names who are really doing this stuff, we're never gonna know their names. These are people who lurk in the shadows. These are people who are protected by mainstream corporations, and these people, we're never gonna know who's really in control. But we can. They've given us enough clues to see who is actually pulling what strings, like the Vatican and the Pope and the Catholic Church. Like, we can tell that they have a large amount of control in this world. You know so,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, if you have eyes to observe it, and you're consciously aware of it, then you'll see it. But the people who don't want to see it, they're gonna be the ones who are gonna suffer the most. And and also I think like,
Absolutely. And that's
you
what
know,
sucks, man.
yeah, go ahead.
I do you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Okay, because you're cutting out a little bit, so I just want to make sure that you hear me okay. But
Yeah.
no, what I was gonna say was so earlier today, right? I went to my dad came to visit me here, and we had lunch, and we didn't really talk about like get deep into stuff going on in the world, like just like very briefly.
Hmm.
And he just doesn't see the bigger picture, man. Like he's about to retire. Literally, I think this is gonna be his last year working. My mom's about to retire from her
Hmm.
job this year, so they just want to retire, and because they've been working right their whole lives. So for them to like if the dollar collapses, right, they're gonna lose everything they ever worked for.
Right.
And most people like my parents' age are.
Hmm.
So it just sucks because someone like my mom, my dad, they're smart people, but I don't know, they pretty much have gone their whole lives like not really, looking into deep into what they're told, And I
Right.
think this goes for a lot of people, right? They just go their whole lives being ignorant to stuff, and when you go a certain amount of time being deceived, it's hard to bring someone back out of it, right? Because they've already
Yeah.
accepted things as true. That's why, like, once someone graduates high school, right, it's pretty hard to wake them up if they
Mhm.
have gone pretty much 20 years of their life not looking into anything, or at least hearing it. They don't have to believe it, but at least hearing it. Because
Yeah.
I heard about I heard like the 9/11 conspiracy the first time ever when I was a freshman in high school, and
Hmm.
like obviously back then it made no sense to me. Like I didn't understand why would it be an inside job at all.
Right. Yeah. And that's like,
But
the initial thought that most people have.
right, but I was like 14 or whatever, 15 when I was first hearing this. So you have a young mind. You're not gonna ask like you're not wise. So
Right.
and I think I might have told you like the way I woke up was 9/11 when I was 20. Like
Hmm.
I don't even know why. I think it was just boredom and like I wanted to find out for myself. And I
Yeah.
looked at 9/11 and yeah, I came to the rational conclusion that it was an inside job and well shit, if they got away with that, they can get away with other stuff. So,
Yeah.
one thing led to another there.
Yeah. It's good that you were able to decipher that at a young age. I remember when I was dating this one girl, we had got into this conversation about conspiracies and stuff, and like by this point I was way already awake. But a lot of the time I remained dormant in like what I would speak about, because a lot of people, they just weren't on that type of time. So I just felt like at this point when I was dating this female, that I'm like, hey, maybe like this is a good time to like mention to her, hey, about 9/11 being a inside job and whatever. And she was like, I don't know about that. And I'm just like, I'm just like, and like that kind of like turned me off, because I was like, what do you mean you don't know about that? Like, hear me out. You know what I mean? Like, don't just straight up deny it. How about you ask me, oh, why do you think that? And like that's for me, it's like the biggest thing. Like, I don't understand why people deny something without even looking into it. And it's like, you think that the biggest attack in US history just happened randomly? Like, people don't understand, the US is the most powerful country in the world. We have everything at our disposal. We have all the military tactics, the technology, the weapons. We have everything. You don't think they saw this coming? You don't think they would see something like this coming? And on top of that, they made it seem like Osama bin Laden just planned this in a ground in Pakistan or wherever he was. He planned this in a ground in a cave, and nobody knew about it except for the people who were in on it. Like, are you kidding
Yeah.
me? Like, the biggest attack on the
The
on
problem
Earth.
is, bro, is people aren't thinking. That's really the biggest issue with everyone. People
Yeah,
really aren't thinking.
they're
They're
not
not.
thinking and they're not researching, because if they would research, you'll realize that Osama bin Laden was a CIA operative. But he worked for the CIA.
Right.
He was literally in America multiple times learning how to fly planes. Like, he was in the White House. He was in the the Pentagon. Like he was there all the time in the United States, way before 9/11 happened. So it's like it's just crazy. And then like you break into like the numerology part of it, how it happened 33 years before George Bush graduated, Skull and Bones, Yale Skull and Bones, and then you look into the 19-year moon cycle, how it happened 19 years after the war on drugs in America, and then 19 years after 9/11 was COVID 19. So, it's just crazy how, people, one, like you said, they're not thinking, but they're also not researching. And
Yeah.
when I come with the facts on what actually happened, they just throw it out the window. I'm like, so you're not even going to entertain what I'm saying? You know what I mean? It's crazy, man.
Yeah, most people aren't gonna obviously enter if they haven't heard it before. It's gonna sound really crazy,
Hmm.
and it really depends on the person. Some people might listen and be open minded, but most people won't.
Right.
Because it's easy to reject new information. The biggest thing, though, is it's just the social pressure. It's because everyone, the majority, bought a narrative, right? They were sold a bill of goods, they bought it,
Yeah.
and that means one, they have to admit they were lied to. Most people aren't going to do that. But two, it means like, well, shit, like that means that if they lied about that, there's other lies. That means I'm gonna have to change, and I don't want to think this way because it's gonna make me think negative, as we were talking about in the other episode, how people think this stuff is negative, right?
Yeah. Right.
Um, but they don't realize, man, like expanding consciousness. Yeah, sure, if there's a dark aspect to it, of course, because you realize that you are everyone around you is asleep, but it's the fact that you can have the consciousness to understand things, and it's not just to know conspiracy theories. It's to know yourself and know other people and understand the purpose of life, because understanding the purpose of life and knowing your place here and understanding that there is greater things than just to go to work and go to school, it's fulfilling. It's really fulfilling, and it makes me want to keep going, to know that there's more to life than just wake up and go to work, collect a paycheck and be in debt, whatever it might be, right?
Yeah.
To your credit card company or your college, right?
Right.
So, it's empowering stuff, becoming enlightened. It really is. Yeah, things might seem scary, but there's a certain maturity level you have to have, right? Things might be scary. Things might seem like, oh wow, there's people out to get me, but in the end, like, am I scared that someone's going to come after me and kill me for talking against them? The powers that be, no, because I'm not. They're not worried about me. They're not worried about us, because even if we got like thousands of views, they still wouldn't care. But if we got millions and we really started attracting people, maybe then they care. But
Yeah.
you understand now, with these algorithms that are to work against us, especially truthers,
Hmm.
they don't really have to worry much about information getting out there that they don't want.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I
So
mean,
yeah, I guess my point with what I was saying, just to end what I was saying there, is
mhm.
yeah, people aren't thinking it. It's really important that we make time to research and to understand what's really taking place around us. Because if we don't, we're not going to end up where we like where we you're not going to like where we end up. We're going to end up in a place where you're not going to have any freedom of speech, no freedom of thought. That's the biggest thing, is no freedom of thought. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
And whether you're Democrat or liberal, whatever you are, you're not going to like it. I guarantee it.
Right. Yeah. It's people, they're just indoctrinated in that way of thinking. Left or right, whatever it is. But they don't realize that all that is just two wings on the same bird, and that bird is leading us down to a portal that goes to hell, and there's no coming back from it if we let it lead us down there. You know, um, I think the biggest thing for everyone to realize is that, hey, we're in a point of time where we control our destiny. We're at a point of time in history where the internet allows us to be connected with one another. That's the one beauty about the internet, is that we can connect with one another from a distance. You
Yeah.
know, Like right now, we're probably like over an hour apart from each other physically, but we can communicate with each other on the screens, and we can put out information. We can collaborate on things, because of technology. So like this is something that we need to take advantage of. Um, I believe as more people use the technology for what it should be used for, then we have a fighting chance of defeating the cabal and taking down these satanic people.
Yeah.
Um, but again, a lot of people are pacified. They're pacified by, the football game, the beer and the food, and then, the porn. It's like so many people. They're pacified by all the things that the cabal gives us, and they allow torment to happen because they're content with the way life is. And again, we've said this before in other streams. We're not content with the way life is. We want greater, we want more for ourselves, we want better for ourselves and for everyone else. Like I'm tired of seeing so many people who are in such bad physical shape, illness, mental illness. Like there's so many problems that we're facing as a society, and nothing that we do in our daily is helping fixing these problems. you know, all we're doing is making the rich man richer and the poor man poorer. That's all we're doing. When you go to these 9 to 5s, you serve the billionaires and their corporations that are stealing from us. They're profiting off of us and they're stealing from us. And that's all we do when we serve these corporations, when we go to our 9 to 5. I don't know a single person who does, even in the medical industry. Like, yeah, like we need doctors and nurses and all the other people who help in medicine, caretakers, but the medical industry is corrupt, and it's a trillion-dollar industry that literally profits off of people getting sick. It's not like, they're profiting off of people getting better. Then that would be different. But people wake up every day just to profit off of other people who are sick. The moment we decide that this is wrong and it needs to be abolished, then we might see some change. But it's going to be a drastic change. Like it can't be like a small change. If we want things to change for real, a drastic evolution needs to happen in society. Something where we throw away this old system and we restart, because I don't know, man. It just seems like we're kind of too far gone as a society to just change up everything, to stop taxes, to stop, the pollution and the water and the air and the gasoline. Like, think about the oil industry, how the cars that we're driving every day is just polluting the earth even further than it already is polluted. Like when the gasoline leaves your car and it gets put out by in the fumes, it's clouding our air and it's making it worse every day. And think about how many people drive a gasoline car. It's like, bro, like we're literally, like, imagine if the cars were ran off water, and every time you drove your car you were helping clean the air because the H2O was getting put back into the earth
They, that
atmosphere.
was inventions back in the day, right? Cars that ran off
Y-
water.
yeah, and they killed the people who invented them and took the patents for it. So it's like, that's like what I'm talking about, is people don't look into these things. Like, maybe a few of us know about that, but the large majority of people do not know about that. They
Yeah.
don't know
So,
about
do
the
you know how
value.
that works? The car with water.
Yeah, it's literally just H2O in a motor. It's not really like that simple, that difficult, because a lot of people have been able
So
to do it.
could I put water in my gas tank and it'll work?
No, it has to be a converted motor, like something that is made for water to work. It won't work in our current cars. Like water won't work at all. But there was a guy fairly recently who died in Buffalo, a black guy, who made it. He made a device where you can basically put it in your car and it can work with water. Like he had a patent for it, like this little motor that you can do. But he was recently killed. I think it was at least after 2020 he got killed. It
Oh,
was
was he like
he
a really young dude?
no, he was an older guy. Do you remember the story of the white supremacist that drove all the way to Buffalo and shot all those people in the grocery store? It like
Oh
happened.
yeah.
Yeah, a couple of years ago it happened. The guy who one of the guys who was killed was the guy who owned that patent. It
Oh,
was a
I didn't
black
know
guy.
that. Okay.
Yeah. So like that's what I'm talking about. It's like they do this and they target people and they use a white supremacist, but I think that kid was like MK Ultra because like who the hell drives over 200 miles to go kill people at a random grocery store in Buffalo?
Well,
Like
I
that
don't think it was random then, right?
exactly. It wasn't random. It was a planned attack, and like
So it probably was MK Ultra victim.
exactly, yeah. Because like, how did he know where to find them? And on top of that, again, 200 miles. That's a long drive for you to go all that far to go kill somebody. And then he killed a bunch of people. So it's like, it sounds like he was under some mind control. And again, he was a white supremacist. So you know that the military is involved with that. You know what I mean? So it's like it's crazy, man. And that guy, he created a device where you can hook it into your car today. All you have to do, I don't know exactly how it worked, the mechanics, but I read that he made it where you can just put it into your car and hook it up a certain way. Maybe you need a mechanic to do it for you, but you can put it in and start using water, and it converts it into energy, into fuel. And that's what we need in the world. We need inventions like that. You know, we don't need Elon Musk and his satanic
Yeah.
and dark MAGA stuff. Like, we don't need that. We don't need Mark Zuckerberg and his metaverse and all that nonsense, and Jeff Bezos and his crappy Amazon products. Like,
Yeah.
we don't need any of that stuff. And that's what I get mad at people. It's like they accept these things like it's supposed to be here, like it's good for us. Like smart cities are going to help improve people's lives. Like I saw a video the other day after the South Carolina wildfires in Myrtle. I think it was in Myrtle Beach. It was one of those beaches. I think it was Myrtle Beach, but they're trying to make they're trying to turn Myrtle Beach into a smart city, and the person on the news, the way the way they put it was like, oh, uh, Myrtle Beach, we want this to be a smart city that helps improve people's lives. Like, what do you mean by that? You know what I mean? Like, what do you mean it help improve people's lives? Why does all this technology help improve our lives? What is it going to do for us? And the dumb person is going to look at this like, oh yeah, 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 we need electric cars
Right.
and things and this and that, and we need chips so when we walk in the store we don't have to pay with our wallet, we don't take out this and that. Yeah, we need that. No, we do not need that. You don't need a chip in your body so you can get into a store and so you don't have to take your wallet out. All you got to do is flash your hand. That's nonsense. you
Right.
know like that's what I mean. It's like, come on. And I think a lot of people know it's nonsense, but again, they're too scared to talk about it, or they just don't want to be looked at as a outsider.
Yeah. They don't want to be looked at as weird. Conspiracy black pilled person.
Right. And it's sad that we don't have enough people in this world who have a spine. Who have any type of heart or dignity about them. Like for me, I ain't never scared to talk about what's going on. If I see
Yeah.
something's wrong,
It's like
I'm gonna
it's like
talk
I
about
always talk about, man, with the people on X who like they're talking about the same stuff we are. It's just they don't have they just tweet, and it's annoying because they have a big following, and it's like you could be using your platform instead of tweeting to
it.
really talk and go, because you can't go deep into stuff when you're tweeting.
Right.
Even if you know how you can pay for it and you can write the long tweets. It's like sometimes when people write really long tweets, I don't read them because I don't have time for it.
Yeah. Right.
It's just sometimes it's just easier to listen and consume because you could be doing something while listening.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's I post the live stream, and obviously no one's joined, right? You don't ever see anyone in the waiting room, right?
Right.
Yeah, so yeah, dude, I don't know. And then sometimes it makes me look like I'm just crying for attention because like I'll be coming at these like truthers like on, and they don't respond to me or anything. Like it'll get favorites from people, but it won't
Right.
like no one really responds to it.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, man, it's it's what's annoying. Like I use X. I don't get people on my X feed that don't know truth. It's all people that know truth. And
Hmm.
funny because it's like on my Instagram, which is really it's only Instagram and TikTok and YouTube that I have that where it's like everything that I post, it's reaching people that they're not really looking for it. It's not like they're conspiracy people. It's just especially Instagram, it's like more personal, more people that I know in my life.
Right.
And then TikTok is like, I half of what I post on TikTok gets deleted, so I usually don't even bother with it
Mm.
unless it's just the most like soft thing.
Right. Mm.
But then on YouTube, right? It's like my shit gets like 10 views per
Yeah.
video, so and I think it really has to do with the algorithm, though. It's like
Oh yeah. It's
it's hard
definitely
to
the
reach,
algorithm.
right? It's hard to reach new people, um, especially on those mainstream platforms because X is like it's kind of made for conspiracies, right? Quote
Yeah.
unquote. But then these mainstream platforms, man, it's hard to reach people.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of our content is shadow banned. It's definitely it's like that for a reason for sure. Um, and then like I don't know if you heard about the wildfire that happened in Long Island recently. Um, it happened like what yesterday or 2 days ago. But there's like a huge wildfire, and it's been burning all through New York State. And a lot of people on Instagram are. I was reading through comments on like on one of the major posts on media outlets, and a lot of people were like, "Yeah, this was intentional," and like it was kind of like nice to see how many people understood like this was intentional. Because when have you ever heard of a wildfire in New York City in the wintertime? You know what I mean? Like that makes no sense. Like you're better off playing it off in the summertime, and even in the summertime, it's almost impossible for us to have wildfires because we're so close to the water, and it's just not a thing in the
Yeah,
East Coast. But in the wintertime, a wildfire, and it's like huge, it's like a massive wildfire. Yeah, sounds like another smart city agenda is being played, and I saw a lot of comments say that too. So it's like maybe our message is getting shadow banned, but I can tell that a lot of people are awake to what the agendas are. At least nowadays, uh, post 2020, a lot of people
yeah.
are becoming aware.
My only worry is, I was just saying, my only worry though is like people go down these like Donald Trump rabbit holes or the JQ rabbit hole or something like that. That's my only worry with people waking up. Yeah, there is a mass awakening. We're seeing a great awakening for sure.
Yeah,
But I do feel like people are mainly waking up and going down the wrong paths.
yeah, I agree. I agree. I think too many people blame administration for what's going on. Um, I think it doesn't even matter if it was Trump or Biden who or not, Kamala or whatever, who got in this election. I think that plane crashes still would have happened in 2025. Like so, it's like no matter who's in there running, the agendas have been set in stone and they've been placed in front of us for a long time. They told us what they were going to do in 9/11 through the cartoons and everything else. They told us how Kobe Bryant was going to die through cartoons. I don't know if you ever seen that cartoon. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, Legends of Chamberlain Heights, whatever it's called, on Comedy Central.
hmm
Kobe Bryant dies in a helicopter in that show, and then literally, what, maybe 2 years later, he actually dies in a helicopter. Like, come on now. And I remember like when that happened, people were trying to like call out the owners of the show, and the owners of the show, they were like, "Oh, we didn't know, we didn't create this episode knowing that this was gonna happen." Like they try to justify it. They knew damn well that's
Right.
what they were told to put that in that show. Like they knew what they're doing. But hey, that's the agenda. And personally, I don't think Kobe's dead. I think Kobe's still alive. Um, I mentioned this in a previous stream that we did. How the helicopter that Kobe normally he rides around in, it's like a black helicopter, like jet black helicopter, and they showed a video of him taking off that day in the black helicopter. But then when you look up Kobe Bryant's like death helicopter scene, like the crash scene, it's a white helicopter. It's like, how does that happen? Like how did his chopper
Yeah.
go from black to white? Like it just made no sense whatsoever. Hold on one second. Let me just share my screen real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see my screen, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So this is the chopper that they're saying that crashed. It's clearly white and blue. Like how is that? How is that Kobe's helicopter? There's videos of him taking off in a black helicopter. So I personally don't think Kobe's dead, and I'll show you Kobe's actual helicopter.
Yeah, he's probably not dead. It's probably just his ritual playing his part in the occult.
Right. This was Kobe's chopper. Like it had his symbol on there. It had the Nike. It was black. Like he was known to ride around in this chopper, like throughout the entire city of LA. Everyone knows he this was his chopper. And it's
Nice
weird.
shot.
Yeah, right. And what's weird? This pilot, he looks like Kobe a little bit. Like you see this guy, like he kind of looks like Kobe. You see the face and the
Yeah,
nose.
he does a tiny bit.
Yeah, it's like it's kind of spooky because it's like so he dies and then the guy who driving it looks like him. Yeah, I think that was a ritual. That this is the pilot. And like, look, how is he? Like, come on now, look at that. Look at his face and then look at Kobe's face right here. Like, dude, they look alike. So
Yeah, they
crazy.
actually really do. That's crazy.
It is crazy. So it's like, oh, come on, man. Like they think they think we're stupid. You know what I mean? And it's sad, man. It's sad. And then after this happened, right? How many people were so devastated and hurt by this? Like I've heard multiple people say they cried the day Kobe died and they felt so sorry. So all that is just energy harvesting. They're harvesting this energy for Kobe and right after this happened, a whole bunch of death was going on. C-19 took place. It's like, and then to top it all off, to put the jokes on it, Kobe was buried in Corona del Mar, California. Like, come on now, are you kidding me? He dies before the COVID-19, and he's buried in Corona del Mar. Come on, like it is jokes on top of jokes, and you
So
know
wait,
I,
when did he die? Like early 2020?
he died January 26th, and it was connected to the Pope. And Bear Bryant. Bear Bryant was the legendary coach at Alabama who died that same day, but like years ago. So the anniversary of Bear Bryant's death was on the day that Kobe Bryant died. Like, come on, like you see the rituals that take place. Like that's what I'm telling people. The sports is connected with the news and the politics. All of it is connected to one another. It's like a giant web of things happening together. You know.
Yeah.
Um, and it's crazy, man, that we got so many people out here that will deny this type of information, and they won't acknowledge it. Like I'll pull it up right now where Kobe was buried. Corona Del Mar neighborhood. Come on now. Like, come on. Like, you gotta be kidding me, man. Like, what are the odds of that? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, come on. What are the odds of that? Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, bro. I remember I made a video, right, about when that happened, how
Hmm.
it was playing. I remember showing that clip that you were talking about, how it was that cartoon.
Yeah.
Um, and this one girl messaged me, like, it was on Snap. She was like, "Oh, are you kidding me, man? Leave him alone. Like, this guy just died. He has kids or whatever."
That's crazy.
Some stupid shit like that, man.
So there was a thing connected to Kobe Bryant in the 41 ritual. So Kobe Bryant walks off in his last game, right? He walks off the court with 4.1 seconds left in the game. In this game, his last game, he had 60 points, and the rest of his team had 41 points, right? In Kobe's most decorated game, the game he had back when he was in his prime, he scored 81 points in that game. That game was against the Toronto Raptors, and it was his 666th game of his career. And he had 81 points in that game, the highest points he's ever had. Guess how many points his team had? 41. So Kobe Bryant has this 41 connection. Guess what age he died at? 41. Now, let's go to Gematria, right? The calculator. Let's type in Kobe's name.
Share your screen.
41. Oh, it's not sharing? Oh, sorry. I thought it was
No.
sharing. So, like I said, let's go to the Gematria calculator. And what do we see when we type in Kobe's name? 41. So, it's like these numbers, man, there's something to these numbers. And these numbers all have to do with Kobe as well. Other things. Uh, NBA is the 113. I think it's National Basketball Association. National Basketball. So, excuse my spelling. I think I spelled it wrong. I did spell it wrong. I'm bugging. Am I spelling this shit wrong? Association. I can't spell. You know
Um,
what?
I'm not too sure to spell it.
I'm. It's late. I'm sorry, people. I'm not. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, that's what it is, right? Yeah, National Basketball Association. Forgot exactly what it is. I just want to get the numbers straight on here. Okay, that's not what it is. Then what is it then? Um. Oh, you know what it is? I know what it is. Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan shares the same 113 with Kobe. That's what it is. Michael Jordan, who was Kobe Bryant's favorite player, 113. Michael Jordan, 113. And I think they had the 58 together as well. No, they didn't. Okay. So anyway, like I was saying, these numbers are all connected. All these numbers are connected. And Kobe Bryant, let's just go back to the example. Kobe Bryant, 41. He walks off the court 4.1 seconds. He died at age 41. His team in both of his legendary games, the 81 game and the 68 game, his team scored 41. And he did it on the 666th game. Like, come on, man. Like, this stuff is so ritualistic. It's sad that people won't acknowledge this stuff.
Yeah, yeah, that's so interesting.
Yeah, but I like to point people to the 41 thing because, like, come on, you can't deny this. It's right here in your face. It's crazy.
Yeah. Wow, man. Yeah, that really is interesting. So, what is that site called again? Gematria.com.
Gematria Nader. So gematria is the real word for it, but Gematria Nader is the actual website. But if you go on Google and just type gematria calculator, it'll pull up.
Okay. So the way like the occult numerology works is like 41 would really break down to a five, right?
Exactly, exactly.
So then what does five mean?
What do you mean?
Like what does five mean for them?
Oh, the number five. I'm sure there's a breakdown to it. I don't know off the top of my head. Um, but 41 is just what I know about him and Kobe Bryant and his name. It's like these guys, their names are like given to them, to fit
Right, right.
certain
Yeah, they're
rituals.
fake.
Yeah, it's like they're made up names, like LeBron James. Like who the hell names their kid LeBron James? Like like what type of name is that? Like I'm black and I've never heard anyone be named LeBron James or LeBron. Like
Yeah.
it's crazy, bro. It's madness, man. um, but yeah, if you look into gematria, there's a lot of information out here about it. Um, one guy I do follow, his name's Zach K. Hubbard. He's like the originator of gematria. He teaches a lot about it. But then there's a bunch of other people who learn from him, and they also do their own decode. So if you go on YouTube and try to type it in, they're gonna shadow ban this information. Like it's all shadow banned. So that's how you know it's like the real shit. This is the real information.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, man. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it really is, man. Such a rabbit hole.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah. Well, my friend, it's getting late. We got on almost an hour and a half here. I'm getting pretty tired.
Yeah, me too.
Well, I really appreciate you guys watching till the end here. If you did, please like and subscribe to both of our channels, and join us. Feel free to. We're even if you disagree with us, if you want to talk to us why you disagree with some of what we say, feel free to do so. That's really what this platform was for, so people can have their voices heard. You don't have to show your face. You could, just have your camera off if you feel more comfortable that way. Um, but yeah, appreciate you guys listening. And Shammy, if you have any last words, why don't you take it away?
Uh, yeah. I mean, it's there's a lot of information on here, and I tried my best to explain it. I'm also like really tired. I've been up since like 6 a.m. So sorry if my brain is not working as efficiently as it needs to, but I felt like we got our point across pretty well. We showed a lot of different things happening with the
Yeah,
plane crashes, with numerology,
even
with
Obi. Yeah,
Kobe Bryant. Yeah, yeah, like that. These are things that I think people should look into, and none of it's by coincidence. Kobe Bryant dies right before C19, and then he's
yeah.
buried in Corona
I
del
feel like
Mar.
the celebrity stuff is a good way to wake people up because it's really obvious. Like they don't really hide it with the celebrities,
Right.
and plus, it's really interesting because it's like, whoa, this whole world that we can't see exists.
Hmm. Yeah, I think if we do some more streams about celebrities and exposing them, I think a lot of people would connect with that more. And we'll have a better engagement too.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll test whatever it can be.
Yeah,
Test it. Test everything.
exactly. So, all right, I think that's about it. We're almost at the hour and a half mark, but we're gonna leave it here. And if that's all you got, Justin, then we're gonna leave it here and call it a night.
Yeah. Good night, everyone.
Take care. Peace.